When does Snow White come out?
Or what?
They're leaning into woke. Hardcore.
They're petrified of some kind of backlash.
They are pretending like Rachel Ziegler is the first of them all when she looks like Lord Farquaad in the film.
And it's going to fail.
I think so too. I think
I watched some of the previews. It's ugly as sin.
The movie is doing catastrophically. They spent $300 million, and it currently has a 2.2 out of 10 rating on IMDb.
You know the saying, go woke, get broke, and Disney's going to lose money on this movie. And I believe it only made less than $1 million in China.
But I was basically the only person in the theater. Very few people wanted to see this. Even the little kids who like Disney movies, even they don't seem to be turning up in droves for the movie because the movie is really, really bad. The movie was absolutely terrible. It's not the single worst movie I've ever seen, but in every way that the movie differed from the beloved 1937 original, it was worse.
I wanted my money back. It was very disappointing.
She has been sabotaging this film for years at this point.
You actually don't want to know what celebrities think politically.
Now, I'm guessing that she's not married. I'm guessing that she doesn't have kids. The movie is a complete disaster, by the way.
I'm so disappointed in Disney.
Most Disney remakes cause a little drama, but this one, it set the internet on fire. Forget the dreamy trailers and soft focus promos, things went south. The second the lead actress opened her mouth about the original film, she didn't just criticize. She came for its neck the moment she threw shade at the 1937 classic, calling out its creepy themes. Fans lost it. People weren't just shocked, they were furious. Even the most casual Disney watchers, the ones who hadn't seen the movie in years, suddenly felt a wave of betrayal. Because for so many, that film wasn't just nostalgia, it was sacred. Critics didn't hold back either. They blasted her for being arrogant and clueless, and called her comments a total slap in the face to Disney's legacy. And the way she said it, with zero respect, she acted like the classic was outdated garbage, like she was doing the world a favor by fixing it. That tone rubbed people the wrong way. Real fast, what should have been a fresh take turned into a PR disaster. Meanwhile, the studio tried to play cleanup. They teased that this remake was all about empowerment.
Disney also abolished its famous princes and princesses because they're gender stereotypes. Really? Can't we just have princes and princesses anymore?
So apparently, according to them and according to the writers of Snow White, women can't even want to be in love anymore.
Nobody wants a movie about true love? What kind of woman do we want out there seeking true love, Eliana? It'd be outrage.
Many think that rather than honoring the legacy, they were attempting to erase it, and that the entire event was merely a cover-up, a cunning tactic to divert attention from a performance that wasn't landing.
Rachel Ziegler, like so many kids raised on TikTok, she's all for infantada is the only global solution.
So she comes off as an insufferable, whiny brat.
The new Disney boss babe, who is Rachel Ziegler, the inverse of happy.
Rachel Ziegler, she's an...
Rachel Ziegler is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
She's also just a spoiled, entitled, narcissistic brat.
No one on the right side of America can stand the star of this movie.
Disney hoped that these sound bites would be a bold step into the future, but instead, they turned into a masterclass in how to alienate your core audience. Fans clipped her interviews and flooded the comments with outrage, making the actress go viral, but not in a positive way. Her words became meme material, and not in a fun way. When the opening weekend arrived, theaters across the country were essentially abandoned, with only a few bewildered families strewn about in the dark, likely wondering whether they had entered the wrong screening. The backlash was loud, harsh, and completely preventable.
You know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird. She's not going to be safe with a prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love.
Oh my god.
These big bad feminists now are telling us that's ridiculous. How dare you want to meet a handsome prince and be swept off of your feet and live happily ever after? No, you should want to be the prince. You should want to go out and fight the bad guys with a sword.
So no prince or a different kind of prince? I'm sure a lot of people will assume it's a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie. Andrew Burnap, great dude. Yeah. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
Who the hell are you to say all of Andrew's scenes could get cut? Like, who are you? Oh my God. Are you Disney? I've read your book, and I have. It's a phenomenal book. You're losing generation of loyal viewers. When you think about Snow White, what is the premise? What is the story?
It's a love story.
It's a love story. It's a dream for a girl to grow up and a man falls in love.
I'm really upset that the biggest theme here is that it's anti-men. She called him a stalker.
Word spread quickly. This wasn't just a failure, it was a full-fledged cinematic disaster. And just when you thought things couldn't get any worse, her own social media post poured gasoline on the fire rather than addressing the chaos. She shared a video of herself laughing as if it were a joke while relaxing in a completely empty theater. Fans were taken aback. Some called it a strange flex, while others denounced it as the height of vanity. Everyone saw it for what it was, a catastrophe unfolding in real time behind the scenes, and panic began. She was set to voice a character codenamed Spiral in a major animated sequel, but there were whispers that producers and directors were reconsidering their decision to cast her in anything else. That agreement abruptly fell through. And rumors that she would be joining a remake of a popular pirate franchise abruptly stopped. A star who is unable to keep the PR train on track is not wanted by any studio. A film may withstand poor writing, but not a months-long PR disaster, particularly one that was initiated by its star. The mess became so significant that even major media sites were unable to ignore it. While executives frantically worked behind the scenes, hoping that last-minute damage control could save what was left too late, the confidence was already destroyed. As headlines shouted about the Disney calamity, people were not paying attention to lectures from someone who appeared to roll their eyes at the very story that fans grew up admiring, and fan forums were exploding with indignation.
To film herself in a theater, totally empty, giggling, tee-hee-heeing with total glee. Look at this. Look at this face. What can be said about this level of narcissism?
And here's the worst part. The drama completely hijacked the movie. No one was even discussing the plot anymore. And whether it had good scenes or not didn't matter. By the time the reviews came out, the audience's mood was echoed by the brutal critics, who called it a soulless remake, an awkward mess, and downright disrespectful to the original. Some accused Disney of trying too hard to look progressive instead of magical, and if they were reworked, shouldn't there be respect for what made them iconic in the first place? Her approach had none of that, just arrogant remarks and sarcastic jabs. Even people who didn't care for the original were side-eyeing the entire thing once the flop was official. Perhaps fans might have shown some grace if she had simply toned it down a bit, but the attitude turned them off right away.
They flew an executive, one of the producers, out to go visit personally with Rachel Zegler to say, could you please take that down? Because we understand you can have your political views, but those aren't really helpful while you're trying to build an audience for a movie. But like, maybe not, maybe just take the tweet down. And she wouldn't. And then they had to hire a special media consultant for her to follow her around all the time and make sure she didn't continue shitting on Snow White and the Prince and young love and women who want to get married. The son of that producer who got on the plane to go over and say, would you please, for the love of God, take this down, and she wouldn't, was all on Instagram yesterday admitting it all.
And then Jonah Platt, who's the son of the producer of the film, responded and said, you really want to do this? Yeah, my dad, the producer of an enormous piece of Disney IP with hundreds of millions of dollars on the line, had to leave his family to fly across the country to reprimand his 20-year-old employee for dragging her personal politics into the middle of promoting the movie, for which she signed a multi-million-dollar contract to get paid and do publicity for. This is called adult responsibility and accountability, and her actions clearly hurt the film's box office. Free speech does not mean you're allowed to say whatever you want in your private employment without repercussions. Tens of thousands of people worked on that film, and she hijacked the conversation for her own immature desires at the risk of all the colleagues and crew. Believes that she should be able to express herself regardless of the consequences to everybody else. In reality, you have a job. You're getting paid to do this job. You signed on the dotted line. And that job comes with certain basic responsibilities. One of the most basic is the responsibility to control yourself and comport yourself a certain way publicly so that you don't harm the project and thereby harm all the hundreds of other people who are working on it.
So what do you think the odds are of this person working ever again?
According to insiders, the studio suffered a huge financial setback. Some joked that the marketing budget alone could rival the GDP of a whole nation. Behind the scenes, panic broke out, and rumors of firing began to circulate throughout the executive floor. People were already asking, who's getting the axe? Even her strongest supporters were having difficulty defending her. Some attempted to paint it as bold honesty, but how can you justify making fun of a beloved movie in order to promote a personal message? Hollywood might overlook a flop, but disparaging your own fanbase is the fastest way to watch the phone. Stop ringing in this industry. The crowd ran instead of disappearing. There is a thin line between being honest and being impolite, and her tone gave the impression that she believed she was too intelligent and sophisticated to enjoy a straightforward children's classic. Her defenders said she was only telling the truth, but her admirers weren't buying it. That attitude struck a chord, and the timing couldn't have been worse. Next came the Trump event, a political rally that would have made headlines on its own, but instead fueled the already raging PR nightmare. The internet was ablaze with side-by-side comparisons of her unraveling, and people began making wild connections, claiming that she had blown up her own career with the same explosive energy that the rally stirred in the news cycle. This wasn't just bad press anymore. It was a full-on cultural moment, and not in a positive way. Suddenly, it wasn't just about a flop at the box office. It was about her reckless comments. The timing and that political event stirred up controversy like a storm. By the time the official numbers confirmed the movie had tanked, barely anyone was shocked her attitude had taken over the entire narrative. People didn't even want to give the remake a chance after hearing her sarcastic interviews and snide remarks. Disney rushed out a new wave of damage control marketing in an attempt to clean up the mess, but slapping a new poster on a ship that has already hit the iceberg is pointless, and in this case, she was the iceberg. The disaster also sparked new criticism of Disney's leadership, asking how they allowed things to get so out of control. Didn't anyone think maybe we shouldn't let our lead insult the very thing we're selling? The drama drowned out any glimpse of the film's actual quality. Even if it had been passable, the whole thing was poisoned before it even hit theaters. Some viewers who chose to see it claimed it was merely mediocre. Nothing remarkable, nothing terrible, but it didn't matter because the only thing people were discussing was her mouth, not the film, and that's the true tragedy.
Accusing Disney of inserting unnecessary feminism into classic fairy tales.
The movie has a major identity crisis.
This is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive.
It really does seem to me that this is like a 19-year-old version of feminism. You've got to reject men. They have to be painted as toxically masculine. You have to spit on true love. Like that is not a value that is universal. Got to get rid of the love storyline and focus more on how she wants to be, CEO of IBM?
They replace the prince with a common criminal. So there is a prince-like figure, but he's no longer a prince. He's a criminal. They clearly want to diminish the love story. I think after the backlash from those comments a year and a half ago, whenever they were, they did beef up the love story a little bit, but nevertheless, he plays an ancillary role.
This should have been another boring but successful Disney remake that relied heavily on brand recognition. But instead, it served as a warning and a prime illustration of how to lose viewers before the film's premiere. Her most haughty remarks were even combined by admirers to create a widely shared embarrassing montage. Millions of people watched the movie, but nobody showed up. Comments ranged from, "There's no way this is real," to outright incredulity. But it was true, and she continued to publish sarcastic captions, half jokes, and passive-aggressive insults in the midst of all that mayhem. She didn't hold back. Rather, she fueled the fire, and the result was swift lost roles, vicious headlines, and a reputation that is currently in ruins, because she couldn't stop bringing up the original story, calling it out of date, and disparaging the prince as though he was unnecessary. Sure, some elements of old fairy tales don't hold up over time. We understand that, but there's a big difference between a respectful takedown and a modern update. Fans don't want perfection, they just want a little respect, especially from someone cashing a Disney check. However, this meltdown went beyond a bad take. It became a case study about how not to represent a legacy brand. She didn't just irritate people, she made fun of Disney's core values and alienated its devoted fan base in the process. Producers love to talk about brand synergy, but what she produced was brand chaos, which led to crowded comment sections but empty theaters. These days, any mention of a sequel seems like a bad joke. Although she is talented and can act, dance, and carry a tune, if your attitude destroys every bridge before the curtain even rises, a Notes app apology might be the next step, but restoring trust is a completely different matter. The audience had already left the building, and they didn't turn around. After a series of box office setbacks, Disney is currently embroiled in yet another PR nightmare. This one was supposed to be their crown jewel, a brilliant remake to bring. back the magic, but instead it became a cautionary tale. Industry insiders are wondering if this mess will finally force Disney to tighten up casting decisions and stop allowing promo interviews to go unchecked. But her public outburst may be the catalyst they need to stop letting promo interviews go unchecked. Rogue critics didn't hold back, calling the film bland, soulless, and downright disrespectful. Even if it had a few good scenes, no one stayed to notice the lesson. If you're walking in the shoes of a beloved classic, don't trash the legacy on your way in. This isn't complicated. Respect the story, respect the fans, period.
It's strange to see the Hollywood celebrity crowd subordinate their art ethically to politics.
It's fear. It's fear.
We have a really important presidential election for you to vote for Kamala Harris. And it's actually non-negotiable. Our rights are on the line, folks. And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button. I don't need your business. Thanks.
She wasn't able to quantify or to say what Kamala stood for, what the Democrats were going to bring into place.
But you are not entitled to call for Trump supporters to be harmed. Like, you are actually not entitled to do that. And so let me just remind you, Rachel Zegler, of what the map looks like, just so you can understand when your Disney movie is coming out, how many people you are wishing harm upon. Like, this is America right now. I will love you through these 4 years as best I can. F Donald Trump. Yeah, totally stable thing for her to be posting, wishing harm upon Trump voters, wishing that we have no
peace now. This catastrophe has turned into the quintessential example of how not to release a movie. People will be citing this calamity for years to come, and it will serve as the standard warning in every PR crash course. Hollywood may give people second chances, but the internet keeps track of them. Could there be redemption? Perhaps, but it will require genuine humility, an apology, and most likely a vacation from the spotlight. As for the remake game, the studios are now reconsidering everything, tightening controls, limiting actor freedom, and possibly even putting future reboots on hold. While some admirers feel sorry for her, claiming she never grasped the role's responsibilities, others believe this is simply the result. Catching up either way, the meltdown wasn't just a movie disaster. It overshadowed the entire production like a storm cloud that wouldn't go away. There's no sugarcoating it. This was a full-on implosion, and even casual Disney fans couldn't help but watch it turn into a wild lesson in how one actor's ego can take over an entire production. If there is a silver lining, perhaps future remakes will be handled more carefully, but let's face it, Hollywood doesn't exactly have a great track record of learning how people love drama. It wasn't just bad timing, it was a perfect storm of controversy that left the audience in awe. Now, the big question is, should she try again for a comeback? Or is it time to end this fairy tale forever? Please share your thoughts in the comments section, and don't forget to hit the bell and like, so you don't miss the next one. There are a ton of stories in store for you.